Welcome back to The Explainer. Now, I am so glad you're here today because we're looking at something that, at first glance, might just look like a standard, everyday corporate document. But I promise you, it is so much more than that. Today, we're exploring the anatomy of BAFTI, and we're going to examine how organizational design is literally engineered to empower farmers and fisherfolk. We aren't going to look at an organizational chart as just a static, boring piece of paper. Instead, we're going to view it as a living, breathing ecosystem that's specifically designed to foster real, tangible agricultural growth. Okay, to really wrap our heads around this, we've got to start with the roots. These two official seals essentially anchor our entire explainer today. The larger one belongs to the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Agrarian Reform within the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or BARM for short. And right beside it is the official emblem of BAFTI, the Bangsamoro Agriculture and Fisheries Training Institute. You see, BAFTI doesn't just exist in a vacuum. It has a very specific regional authority and a direct mandate to serve the agricultural and fishing communities within this truly unique geographical region. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our blueprint for today. 1. Meet the BAFTI framework. 2. The Executive Leadership Core. 3. Training and Knowledge Services. 4. The Operational Support Backbone. And 5. Decentralizing across the BARM.
Section 1. Meet the BAFTI framework. The ecosystem approach.
So looking at the actual anatomy of the Institute, we've got the Executive Leadership Core right at the top. You can think of that as the brain of the whole operation. Flowing down from there are the two main functional pillars of service, carefully balanced side by side. On the left, you've got the outward-facing training and knowledge side, and over on the right, the inward-facing integrated support services. And then down at the bottom, we see these reaching networks branching all the way out to the different island and mainland provinces. It perfectly shows how high-level central planning literally flows straight down into decentralized, on-the-ground service delivery.
Section 2. The Executive Leadership Core, the steering wheel.
Right at the very top of this framework, we've got a super focused leadership pair. The executive director is the one steering the entire operation, providing all the overall institutional leadership and management required to actually fulfill BAFTI's mandate. But a director can't do it alone, right? Right alongside them is the executive assistant 3. Now, this role is absolutely vital. They act as this crucial filter and operational coordinator. They're reviewing communications, coordinating really complex activities, and, most importantly, monitoring assignment follow-through. Basically, they make sure that every single mandate decreed by the director is actually executed down the line.
Section 3. Training and Knowledge Services, the outward pillar. And this brilliantly illustrates how BAFTI divides its primary operations into two distinct service clusters to ensure absolute organizational parity. Interestingly enough, both are headed by someone with the exact same rank, a Director I, salary grade 25. The Institute puts exactly equal weight on its outward-facing technical mandates, which are the actual services being delivered to the public, and its inward-facing operational efficiency, the administrative machinery that actually makes the delivery possible in the first place. Right now, we're going to focus on that outward-facing side.
So, this outward-facing cluster is formally called Training, Extension, and Knowledge Management Services, and it breaks down into 3 highly specialized sections. First up, Training and Extension. These are the folks on the ground developing curricula and delivering actual practical training for farmers and fisherfolk. Second is Knowledge Management, Information and Communication, and they handle all the institution's messaging. And third is Accreditation, Certification, and Standards. They are essentially the quality control, setting rigorous guidelines for program quality and formally accrediting the various service providers. Ultimately, these 3 sections are the literal tools being used to directly equip the agricultural workforce out there.
Now, knowledge management sounds like a super dense, bureaucratic title, right? But what does that actually mean for the end user? Well, it directly translates to managing the vital digital platforms that keep the Institute and the public connected. It's all about taking incredibly complex agricultural research, or, say, complicated training schedules, and making them accessible and totally understandable to the community through modern communication channels. It takes raw data and turns it into actionable real-world knowledge.
Section 4. The Operational Support Backbone, the engine. This cluster, it is all about ensuring operational efficiency. It's also divided into 3 critical sections. First, we have planning, policy, monitoring, and evaluation. They take the lead on strategy development, and they constantly assess whether the outward-facing programs are actually making an impact. Then there's finance, managing the literal lifeblood of budgeting, accounting, and cashiering. Finally, the administrative section handles everything from human resources to procurement and property management. Think of this cluster as the essential engine room. Because without human resources, without property management, or, a budget, those amazing training programs for fisherfolk we just talked about, yeah, they'd never even make it out the door.
But here's a crucial point, and honestly, a massive logistical puzzle. BARM is a vast and incredibly geographically diverse region. So how on earth does a central institute, with its executive directors and administrative backbones sitting in a main office, actually reach farmers who are located way out on remote islands?
Section 5. Decentralizing across the BARM, reaching the soil.
Let's move to and see how this actually builds out. BAFTI doesn't just rely on a central headquarters. It utilizes a network of very specific satellite offices. Whether we're talking about the island provinces of Basilan and Tawi-Tawi, or the mainland provinces of Llano del Sur, Maguindanao del Sur, and Maguindanao del Norte, every single one of these distinct geographic areas gets a dedicated provincial leadership role. They are each managed by a designated training center superintendent I. This is massive because it ensures that the services aren't just some one-size-fits-all thing, but are instead localized, managed, and delivered right there where the farmers and fisherfolk actually live and work.
Now, what's really interesting about this is seeing the whole vision come together. When all these dynamic pieces snap together into one cohesive organizational blueprint, the intent becomes crystal clear. You've got the executive director and assistant sitting at the top, managing the vital split between the outward training services and the inward support services. And branching directly from that central planning are those decentralized satellite offices out in the provinces, each with their own superintendent. All the moving pieces we just toured snap together perfectly into one highly functional mechanism. And that leaves us with this final, really vital thought. We've spent this explainer looking at boxes, titles, and structural flows, but we really have to ask ourselves, how does the intentional design of an organization directly shape the future of local food security and community growth? Well, what we've seen today is that a well-engineered bureaucracy isn't just a bunch of red tape. When it's designed correctly, like the BAFTI framework here, it is the literal foundation for a thriving agricultural ecosystem. It's the exact structure that ensures knowledge, training, and resources actually make it from the drawing board directly into the hands of the people feeding the region. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. Stay curious, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.